Hello, dear student. Welcome again. This day, we will continue with one of the very important aspects of directive, the another element that is motivation. Motivation can be briefly described as anything which increases our ability and enhances the performance. So it goes mathematically as performance is equal to mathematical, that is motivation, into ability. It's a force or an element which multiply our performance, our ability to perform. So performance is increased when it is multiplied by certain motivation. Before we move into dealing and discussing about what motivation is, let us begin with the first line, that human behavior, whatever it is, they are caused. Caused means there is some reason why an individual behave in a particular manner, why he react in a particular manner. There is a factors, or there are a number of factors which underlies and explain the reason for a particular human behavior. So therefore, we can say that human behavior, it is caused. They are not auto-generated. There is a reason for human behavior, and these reasons are various needs, the wants, desires of human being, which results into a particular form of behavior. Before we move again, I hope you understand the difference between needs and wants. I would like to give you an example. I belong to an average family. I don't have much resources or much financial backing. I wanted to buy a helicopters. I cannot buy. Or I aspire to buy a helicopter. I cannot buy. Because my need or my wish of buying a helicopter is not backed by financial soundness. I do not have the resources to buy it. So it is my need. I need it. But I don't have the financial ability to buy it. Whereas I can buy a car easily. I want to take a ride in a motorcycle or a car, and I have the financial resources that I can afford it. So I will try my best, because I have the resources, to indulge in a behavior which will satisfy my need of riding a bike or having a tour in a motor car. When I do not have resources, I do not indulge in a particular behavior. But when I have a resource, I indulge in a particular behavior for satisfaction of those needs, those motives. Now, what are these needs and motives actually? They are the urges which arises within, which they are the forces that drive us to work. Or rather, they are a state of deprivation. Needs and motives, they are a state of deprivation. We find that we are lacking something. And what we do, we try to indulge in a behavior so that we come out of this situation. We do not have the lackness. Now this deprivation, it creates a tension in our mind. The environment shapes these needs and drives. It may convert it into wants. If we work towards removing this drive or coming out of this drive, getting out of the drive, we may indulge in a behavior so that our wants, our needs, our motives, they get satisfied. our urges are satisfied, we indulge in such a behavior that we want to reduce the tension that is created and that has accumulated in our mind due to non-fulfillment of our needs and urges. So, our behavior, our work, our attitude, they tends to be directed towards removal of those state of deprivation. We indulge in a behavior so that we satisfy our need and we come out of the state of deprivation. And when we come out of the state of deprivation, our tension is released. And then we have a modified behavior. Our behavior gets modified. Motivation is concerned with identifying that state which urges a human being to work and indulge in a particular behavior. It helps the management to identify that at what point and which factors is the urge for the employees. Which factor act as an urge for an employee so that he feels that there is a lackness and then he indulge in a behavior. For example, if I have a tendency of making it into the UPSC exam, that is my needs, that's my motive, I would indulge in a behavior, I would take a study to such a level or in such a way that will help me to achieve my drive and come out of the state of lackness. Whatever changes is taking place in my behavior, that is due to this need, this motive which I want to achieve. And this is actually a state of deprivation. I do not have this. I wanted to achieve it. And this creates a tension. Now this tension drives, it gives an impetus to the employees to work for removal of these drives or state of lackness, and rather they, on the other hand, for the fulfillment of their needs and drives. So therefore, management is concerned with identifying those needs so that they can be used to modify their behavior in such a way that they help in increasing the organizational efficiency. This is what motivation is concerned with. So if we want to define what a motivation is, it's clear. It's a process. We induce the employees. And how we introduce? We try to locate those deficiencies, that is the need, the state of deprivation, which exist for this inducing. We are inducing the human being, the employees, for a desired behavior. We have an expectation, and to achieve that expectation, we try to influence the human behavior, and so that organizational efficiency is achieved. Now I have given a flow chart explaining what causes motivation. It's clear over here that needs and motive exist. Rather, they are the causes for a particular human behavior. So therefore I have said behavior is caused. Human activities are caused. Human take activities for special activities or whatever the activities they takes. There is a reason behind it. It is caused. It does not emanate out of its own. And what are the cause? What causes these activities? It is the needs, the motives, the urges. That is a drive, a state of deprivation, which creates a tension. And therefore, any human, he or she indulge in a behavior to remove such a state of deprivation. So these needs and motive, they create a tension, and they urges, they propels, they drives a human being shaped by the environment to satisfy the needs, to convert it into want. Because want can only be satisfied as it suggests that there is financial resource, financial backup. So we try that it get converted into wants. But my dear, the satisfaction of these drives, it is not very easy. What happens? Once we identify that these are the reason why human engage in a particular activity or in particular type of behavior, if such behavior or such activities, such drives and needs are not fulfilled, there are certain barriers. Then they may result as in the form of frustrations. And what is frustration? I have written here, frustration is accumulation of tension due to non-fulfillment of want. The person, the individual, he is in a lot of pressure, lot of tension. His behavior cannot be said to be positive for anyone. So therefore, an organization has to take into account when he wanted to induce the behavior of an employee, that there should not be any accumulation of tension. Rather, they should let to release the tension. They should provide the ways for fulfillment of their want, so that the human may act in a way that increases the organizational efficiency. So if it is not, there are a number of barriers. So if the barrier prohibits, which leads to non-fulfillment of wants, and it creates a tension, it piles up. Whereas if it results in the achievement of the goals, then there will be a favorable behavior, or rather release of tension. So the behavior that we have after satisfaction of those drive, those urges, the worker come out of the state of deprivation, and then the behavior what we have, it lets him that he is out of tension, the tension has been released, and the behavior that we have now, it is conducive to the organization for the achievement of organizational efficiency. Management therefore aims at identifying those factors which drives a human being or an employee to work or engage in a particular behavior, to engage in a particular activities, so that they may come out of this state of lackness. So this is all about motivation, the brief outline of motivation. So in one word, if we are to say what a motivation is, I have written a definition over here, that it is process of inducing person. What we try to induce, we try to influence their needs and motive. That is the arrow line point out. When they are in a state of tension, we try to influence the cause of tension. When they are assured that yes, there would be ways to release their tension, then probably they would indulge in a behavior that helps the organization to achieve its efficiency. So motivation is nothing but it is stimulating the workers or the employees to engage in a behavior which helps to accomplish the goals of the organization. Let us now discuss the features of motivations. The first feature of motivation is an internal feeling. Surely, we have seen motivation is an internal feeling. Motivation is actually a process, and we try to induce the method, the process cannot be seen, but it can be felt. So when we say motivation is an internal feeling, these needs, this drive, they exist in the mind of a person that he lacks something. It is not manifest. It is not something physical that can be seen. And therefore, what we conclude is that motivation is an internal feeling. in the process of influencing and inducing the behavior, we feel that yes, there are ways which is coming to reduce our tension, to satisfy our drives and needs. So we conclude that motivation is an internal feeling. The second one is motivation produces goal directed behavior. How motivation produces goal directed behavior? Means the action we have discussed, that motivation tries to locate the factor, the drive, the urge, the need which propels, which give an impetus to an individual to work so that he come out of that situation. He indulge in a behavior to remove his lackness, state of lackness. So when we say motivation is goal directed behavior, it means that motivation, that this inducement that is being provided to the employees, this inducement is provided so that these individuals, they indulge in a behavior which is and which helps in the achievement of the goal. They are directed, the inducement direct a human being to indulge in a behavior which helps an organization to achieve the desired goal, the desired objective. There could be various objectives that an organization had or what it wants to achieve. When a leader or a manager tries to influence the behavior of an individual or of an employee, he always tries to find out. It is to be noted over here that the same needs or drive cannot be of motivation for each and every employee. The needs and drive differs. So it would be a misnomer if we say that the same needs could be a motivator for an individual or for all the individual. When we say that motivation helps the organization to indulge in a behavior, it means motivation induces the people, the employees, to behave in such a manner that they helps in the achievement of the goal for which they have been induced. Now let us take an example. If a person wants that he has to reach to the top, he should work hard so that he can get promotion. So this belonging or this longing or this desire for getting a higher promotion would propel the worker to work more. So if the organization promotes such employees, then this promotion would act as a motivation. It would induce him that he would work more for organization and help in the achievement of organizational goal. He would be more efficient then. So therefore, whatever the goal may be, either achievement of efficiency or of organizational goal, motivation always tries to elicit behavior which is directed towards the achievement of goal. Then the third one is motivation is a complex process. When we say motivation is a complex process, we point out that these individuals, these employees who are working in an organization, they have varied and heterogeneous perceptions. Their feelings, their perception about the organization, about the co-worker, about the work conditions, they are different, they are varied. So not only their perception, but even their expectation and reaction in a particular situation, it differs. And when we say that it is a complex process, any specific technique of motivation cannot be applied in all the situation. That is the thing. Because for each employees, as they differ in their perception, as they differ in their expectation, there could be a different sources of motivation. For somebody, finance may play an important role, financial incentive, whereas for others, non-financial incentives like promotion, like giving an awards, they may be a motivation. And we therefore say that motivation is a complex process, because we cannot apply the same methods of inducing the human behavior, as the behavior is the result of their aspiration, expectation, the drives, the needs, which differs according to or as per person to person. It varies. So motivation is a complex process. Now coming to the next, that is motivation is a continuous process. Now this aspect of continuous process, why it is? It points out that human wants, they are recurring. We are an animals who always have a desire that every time one need is satisfied, a new need crops up. We want more and more. Each time a new drive propels us. We have a new expectation. There are certain needs. For example, when an individual does not have the sources to fulfill or satisfy his bare necessities, he first do not think about having or owning a house or a car. He first thinks that let me try to fulfill my all physiological need. I want some food. I want some clothes. So he basically first of all tries to fulfill the basic necessities. Once he have a basic necessities, then he aim for another higher need. That is the subject of our Maslow need hierarchy theory. But it is like that. A new need crops up, which again poses a challenge for the manager, because a satisfied need cannot be a motivation or cannot be a motivator to an individual. A person who has have food, and if I say, will you do this work for me? I would give you food. His need of food has been satisfied. Food cannot be, or food can no longer be a motivator for him. It cannot motivate him to indulge in a behavior. Something else maybe. But if I say, I would give you a bike or a car if you do this work for such and such days, and if he had a need or a drive for this owning a car, probably he would do the work. He would engage in a behavior that is conducive to the organization. So when we say that motivation is a continuous process, the needs of the human being keeps on changing. The wants goes on changing. Satisfaction of one need give rise to another need. Once a need is satisfied, another need crops up. And therefore, here the manager has a challenges that he has to continuously perform the function of motivation. He has to apply different techniques of providing him or inducing his behavior through different means, applying different techniques. And as a result, motivation tends to be a continuous process. For the simple reason that these needs and wants, they keeps on changing. And once a want or a need is satisfied, it can no longer be a motivator for an individual. A new wants takes power, and satisfaction of new wants can then only be a motivator for an individual. Then we have motivation can be positive or negative. This points out that the effect of inducing a behavior can be positive and can be negative, or rather the techniques that we use, it can be it can be a positive one or it can be a negative one. Some of the individuals whose behavior, who tends to create a lot of pressure on the management, if the management tries to pressurize that you would be out of this place if you unnecessarily engage in an activities, or if you do not keep a disciplined behavior, a fear may motivate him to indulge in a positive behavior and act accordingly. Whereas some of the employees, they look out for some recognition, for rewards among the peer groups. And if they are given recognition, they indulge in an activity or in such a behavior that is always beneficial for an organization. So when we say motivation can be positive or negative, it means the approach of inducing a behavior can be positive or can be negative. So this is all about the different features of motivation and the concept of motivation. Have a look at it. We will meet in the next class. Till then, happy learning.